Let's go ahead and call Mr. Cooper while we're waiting. All right, this is State of Florida versus Stephen Allen Cooper, case number 19 CF 866. Mr. Cooper's before the court today. He represents himself. Mr. Cooper, do you still wish to represent yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, there's been a bunch of motions filed today, but print out the motion that I've denied, most of the pro se, the ones that were filed as of the 12th. Madam Clerk. Dismissed, the motion to dismiss defendant's motion to reinstate bond and vacate related bond forfeiture and notice of speedy trial.
Development resubmitted.
Yeah, and I'm gonna deny them again. All right, where we at? I dismissed the pro se notice of speedy trial demand. But okay, we'll set it for the November. Anything else, Mr. Cooper?
Yes, you dismissed them because of a certificate of service, and they were refiled with a proper certificate of service.
They were just refiled today. I have not had a chance to look at them. So I won't deny them today. I'll just reserve on that. Okay. I can't, I just have not, they were not in the court file when I looked this morning. They were filed today. So I'm not prepared to order them. I will not dismiss them today, but I will have a chance to look at them. Okay.
So I have a right to reinstate bond.
No, I'm not reinstating it right now. And I'm not going to reinstate your bond. You failed to appear. Judge Costello, my understanding that Judge Costello was covering for me, that you appear by Zoom, and you did not come to trial as you were ordered to. So you're not getting back out of jail.
It was not willingly though.
You're not getting out of jail, Mr. Cooper.
But I have a right to bond.
Denied.
And
all right. Well, denied.
I do have a motion that I'd like to submit to you.
You can submit it.
Disqualification of judge.
Okay. Submit it.
Who should I hand it to?
To the clerk. We'll set that for the 19th, and we'll have a chance to look at the other ones, okay? That's Friday morning.
Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we've got a couple of hearings to cover. The second features an arrogant sovereign citizen who gets completely shut down by a judge that's extremely familiar with every sovereign citizen argument in the book. But first, we're checking in on someone I've covered before, Stephen Cooper. If you don't remember him, he's the guy who kept appearing on Zoom after being repeatedly ordered to show up in person. Eventually, the judge got fed up with the games, issued a bench warrant for failure to appear, and Stephen decided to disappear for a few months. That strategy worked right up until his legal troubles finally caught up with him, and he's been sitting in jail ever since. Today, we'll look at 3 short court appearances where he asks the Florida judge to overlook his past behavior, while the judge makes it crystal clear that he isn't interested in letting him out anytime soon. So, hit that hype button, and let's get started.
This is State of Florida versus Stephen Allen Cooper, case number 19 CF 866. Mr. Cooper is present in the courtroom. He's representing himself. Mr. Cooper, do you wish to continue to represent yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
And we're set for trial November 3rd. All right. Did you get the order to deny motion for disqualification of judge?
I have not received that.
All right, I'll have that printed out for you. There's some other motions that you filed. Looks like we got them yesterday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this on the trial docket for that November date. I'm going to set this for October 24 for a trial management and motion day.
I got the bond reinstatement that was previously filed, and then
yeah, I'm going to deny that motion for bond. You're based on your failure to appear. I'd already, and for the record, I have had you arrested at least once on a failure to appear. Released you again on, allowed you to go back to, I believe, Ocala on the morning of trial after you filed a demand for speedy. You failed to appear, and Judge Costello revoked your bond at that time, had a capias, and then we had to, I think the capias was outstanding for a while. So my motion is denied.
I'm prepared to make arguments in regard to that.
Well, I'm not prepared to listen to them. I'm ruling on your motion. Okay?
What
I can rule on a motion without hearing argument, and that's what I'm doing today. Anything else?
Any of the other motions?
I'm going to hear everything on the 24th because you just filed a bunch yesterday on the 16th. And we got them in the court file. So I'll hear everything the 24th. That will conclude today's hearing. Mr. Cooper, we'll see you then. Mr. Cooper, you're here today on your trial management. I believe you're set for trial November 3rd at 8:30. You're representing yourself. Do you wish to have an attorney appointed to represent you or talk any more about that?
No.
Okay. All right. Where are we at?
I believe it's the motions, and I just have my motion to reinstate bond. And
that'll be denied.
All the motions filed on the 14th that you postponed 30 days until this date, and none of them have been responded to.
Filed a traverse, responding to his multiple motions to dismiss, the motion for discharge, and the motion to quash the information.
All right.
Actually, a motion to disqualify the judge was filed as well. I believe you got that.
I think I've ruled on that, hadn't I?
I believe you got another one.
Yeah. All right, I'll get you an order of that next week. We'll leave it on the docket for November 3rd. See you then.
Are you going to give me the traverse? 'Cause I haven't received anything.
Yeah, if you don't have it, the state has this already been filed, so if you want to give it to them, or state, or the clerk's office can give it to them.
Judge Clark is definitely not someone you want to be playing games with. He's not about to release someone who has repeatedly failed to appear in court just so they can disappear all over again. We've got 2 more appearances from this case to cover, but they're both pretty short, so I'm just going to let them play all the way through.
Well, the first matter, Amos Canzoni, come on up and have a seat if you would. Go ahead and have a seat, sure. There's no contract. You and I have no contract. We resolve it in this way. It's a civil infraction, which means the city has the obligation of going first. Go ahead and have a seat and speak into the, if you're more comfortable standing. No, this isn't the time for questions. This isn't the time for questions. What we do here, this is not, we do it in a certain order. The first thing we do is, as you were cited for 2 infractions, is as I read what the officer said, until there's nothing before me, until we have the officer's statement. Once we have the officer's statement, then you can present whatever argument you want. That's the time you make your argument.
So what is it about today?
Pardon?
What are you planning on doing today?
Well, you're defending yourself against the issuance of 2 infractions.
No, I'm not the defendant.
Well,
Defendant, would you agree with me?
you're whatever you want to call yourself, a defendant, a respondent. You're the person who was issued the citations.
That's the problem. That's not the defendant.
I've read the argument. You're not raising it at the right time. Raise the argument after I've read the officer's statement into the record.
I have actually contested that statement on the return service that you received in the file.
Okay.
Statement is not accurate.
If it's not accurate, now is not the time. We don't have the statement yet. I need to read the statement. On January 2nd, 2025, at approximately 1600 hours, while on patrol within the city limits of Yelm in a marked patrol vehicle, when I observed a silver Buick traveling east on Mossman Avenue with Washington registration ACA 8168. The registration showed expired as of 11/24. I conducted a traffic stop using my emergency lights. The driver was identified as Amos Canzoni by his Washington State driver's license. Amos first gave me a random card stating he was an American citizen and did not need a driver's license. Amos attempted to argue his sovereign citizenship and that he did not need a driver's license. Amos was unable to provide me with current proof of insurance and stated he did not have any at this time. Amos was given the opportunity to contact the valid driver who was unable to do so. I advised Amos that his vehicle would be impounded. Amos was given a criminal citation for driving while license suspended in the 3rd degree, a traffic citation for no insurance, and a copy of the TOFR. Amos was given a courtesy to his residence. The vehicle was impounded from the scene by Wharton Towing. That's what the officer said. Now I'll listen to you. Now's the time.
Let's just hope he didn't eat those court orders too, in an attempt to fill up on that delicious printer ink. He later had a trial on November 3rd, but it wasn't streamed on YouTube, so I don't have that footage to show you. That said, it's probably a safe bet that he was found guilty and is still sitting in jail serving time for the crimes he was convicted of. Now let's head over to Judge Meyer's courtroom, where an American state national goes head-to-head with a judge who's clearly well-versed in the usual sovereign citizen nonsense. The audio in this hearing wasn't the best, but I cleaned it up as much as I could so you can still follow along and enjoy.
Could you speak into the microphone?
I gave the officer very first once when he approached me, I gave him my American state national credential card. And this has all the information you needed to look up to find out that I'm not a US citizen and therefore not in his jurisdiction. And therefore, there's no issue about traffic violations because there was no crime involved. And then he refused to look up the information by his own choice. So then he required my driver's license, which I told him I can give it to him, but that does not apply because it's my license, it's not the DOL sign, because my name is a copyrighted name. And therefore, it's in my possession. But anyway, he then went on to saying about sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron. And I tend to say only morons use that term because a sovereign can never be a citizen. Citizen has an obligation to whatever government or state he's subscribing to, whereas a sovereign, I'm a foreign sovereign. I mean, I'm foreign to your jurisdiction. I'm here talking to you now as a lawful person. I can talk to you because we're both persons in this environment, but I'm not subject to legal rules and everything. That's up to you. That's you are subject to. I'm not. I tried to tell that to the police officer because for his own protection, I told him, look, I'm not really who you think I am. I'm a driver, not driving a commercial vehicle with interstate commerce. It's the only reason I would have a driver's license. So that's why I gave him the credential card first, so he could correct his mistake. He refused to do so, and they ran me through the mill, and you know what the mill was doing afterwards. So that's all criminal now because I'm a foreign sovereign, and I posted it on my door. I posted it in my file that I have a Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, meaning help that holds me, a man, a lawful person, immune towards the legalese, the legal subscription, which a dual citizen has obligation as a citizen.
Okay, so despite what he claims, he was driving, not merely traveling, someone else's vehicle without a valid driver's license or insurance. Since the officers couldn't reach the corporate fiction, the actual registered owner of the vehicle, it ended up being towed. If there's one lesson to take away from situations like this, it's to stay as far away as possible from sovereign citizens, American state nationals, and Moorish American extremists, because their beliefs don't just create problems for themselves, they're perfectly willing to drag everyone else around them into the mess too. With that said, let's hear what this American state jackass has to say.
I do not have those obligations. And I try to tell you that too in my paperwork as a meeting. And so you don't have a claim. You have to actually prove jurisdiction over me 1 year. The defendant is not me, but defendant, the name, all caps name, is under my private copyright and trademark. So you basically created, not you with you, the federal government created that name. And I'm asking you, do you agree that the name represents a usufruct derivative? It's something you can use to access my assets and create credit therefrom. And then without my consent or knowledge, you can then create monetary incentives for yourself and for the court and everything. But the credit and the asset still belongs to me. So the conundrum I have with you now is you are the ones who would have to pay the fine on that violation because it doesn't concern me. It concerns a usufruct derivative, which I still don't have any control over, even though it's in my copyright and trademark. That's the whole conundrum I have with the court and with the federal government itself. You trespass upon me, you basically transform me into a defendant, all caps independent, which I am not, and I have proven that I'm not. And yet you still try to link me to that case with that defendant. And I would claim that the government is responsible to offset all these fines or whatever you want to create under that name and hold me harmless because I have nothing to do with it. So that's in a nutshell the situation. But I would also say you have to prove jurisdiction first before you have a case. And you haven't done that so far. Nobody has rebutted my documents I filed into the court case. That means in your own rules, it's admitted truth because it has not been rebutted. It's fact and truth. And then you would technically have to honor these facts and truths. But by continuing with the charade, you do not. And you do not recognize that you're basically now in criminal contempt of the law, because do I have to spell it out? As of January 1st, 2025, poof, this court has disappeared. The municipal government has been liquefied with a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which has been finalized January 1st. And now, basically, you don't even exist anymore. Or if you do exist, you would have to be on Washington, D.C. ground, because you're not having any rights to be on land and soil.
Well, you're wrong about that because the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act has absolutely nothing to do with an ordinary traffic stop. What really blew my mind was that he openly admitted in court that he was driving, not merely traveling, during the encounter. As for the FSA, it's a federal law that governs when a foreign nation or one of its agencies can be sued in a U.S. court. It follows the doctrine of restrictive sovereign immunity, meaning foreign governments can, in certain circumstances, be sued when they're engaged in commercial activities in the United States. It's a statute designed for international law and diplomatic disputes, not a personal loophole for American residents trying to avoid traffic laws. In short, you can't simply declare yourself a foreign state to sidestep your state's transportation code. Calling yourself a sovereign, a natural person, or an American state national doesn't magically transform your Toyota into a diplomatic vehicle or turn a public roadway into international waters, no matter how hard you lick the windshield.
Now, that's something that's in general, that has nothing to do with this court specifically. It's just a general thought that has been put on the people of this country. Now, I have another document here. I would like to post it. I have it already filed in the docket, but it shows the residents of this country. Residents in all caps named. And we all know a resident is only a temporary living in this country or in the state. There's not a single American in the census of 330 million people. Now, my question to you is, why do you insist on treat us like sovereign citizens, which is an oxymoron, rather than recognize our status? Because in Thurston County, there's maybe 2,000 of us, if it comes to a high number. Everybody else can be treated as a dual U.S. citizens, which gives you all the rights you have, but not against me. So that's your problem now, because I've documented everything in the file. So basically, I've made a counterclaim. I nullified your claims, including the fines, including whatever you want to bring up, including the statements of the police officer. They've all been voided out by me responding, return service response. And that also would also be appearance in court, by the way. So he never not appeared in court. I just give you the courtesy. Well, it's basically not a courtesy, it's under duress. I come here to make sure I inform you of the situation you're basically maneuvering yourself into by not recognizing who I am as a foreign sovereign, because I'm outside of your jurisdiction period. So that's why you don't really have a case. And it would be wise if you would allow the prosecutor to file a notice of dismissal or cancellation of the case, because it won't have any jurisdiction. And I have proven that on the record.
This is the kind of argument that separates American state nationals from your average sovereign citizen. Don't get me wrong, they're still sovereign citizens at the end of the day. They just seem to have taken a few extra deep breaths of paint thinner before showing up to court.
And that's fine.
You showed me the paper that you showed. I could not see that from here. Could you see that?
I give it to you here. This
Sure.
is what's not in the docket. And then also, in order for me to be protected, we also have a private indemnity bond. In case I would be involved in a crime or in some property damage, that indemnifies me. I don't need a bond like you guys do. I just need an indemnity bond. So that means if something happens that causes a lot of financial problems, that indemnity bond would be able to connect to the power. So that's the document. And you can see there's two barcodes on there, or whatever they call it. You can access my documents like the police officer could have easily gone, scan those two barcodes and get into the file. And then all the files are in there accessible, the same ones I put into the court case now. So basically, there was no reason for the officer to do anything else except oh, excuse me, I made a mistake, have a good day. That would be his proper response to me as identifying me as a foreign sovereign. And he did not do that, and the court did not do that, and I don't go into details on now, but it has been a lot of hassle against me, who is not even involved in this one. That's the problem I have with you now, that you don't recognize that I'm really not part of this court proceeding.
You've proven absolutely nothing on the record, except that you were brainwashed and taken advantage of by someone on the internet who cared far more about your wallet than your freedom. Before long, the judge is going to figure out exactly who sold you this nonsense.
So you're entitled to call yourself anything you want to. I believe under the law, you're entitled to use any name you want, as long as you're not doing that to defraud anybody. Now, it's not of any interest to me whether you call yourself first name, first name, comma, uppercase, lowercase. It's the person that's sitting in front of me.
No,
They take it, it's my turn.
Okay.
But you're arguing that you're basically exempt from you're exempt from the rules that would apply to the citizens of this country. The problem is you may be, may not be call yourself a citizen of this country, but when you're using the roadway, you're subject to the rules of the roadway, no matter what you call yourself, a foreign citizen, a sovereign, it doesn't matter. Is this person using the roadway? When you do that, there are certain requirements that apply to the people using the roadway. And if you were, then the officer says you're within the city of Yelm on a road on Mossman Avenue, take judicial notice of that. That's a certified road. You are subject to those obligations. Now, I'm very familiar with all these arguments. I suggest you, it's my turn, sir. I suggest you read State v. Williams. It's in 143 Washington 2nd, which goes into this. We're talking alternative realities here. The reality I subscribe to, this is the state of Washington. This is a validly established court. I have jurisdictions over minor matters, infractions committed within the city by the people that are driving on the road, for example. Now, you don't believe that? State versus Williams goes into that in some detail. They call these arguments, I've looked through this as, at one point they refer to them as semi-literate gibberish, which is basically what it is. These are specious arguments that I don't have to, I'm not taking into effect. They are not recognized in any court in the United States. I know there's a wealth of information, hundreds, thousands of these articles on the internet. You can pull them off. For example, this one signed by Anna Marie Reisinger of Alaska, relating to the United States Corporation and the USA Corporation. It's all very interesting, but it has no meaning here with me.
Well, unfortunately for you, no court outside your imaginary sovereign kingdom recognizes the jurisdiction of the land of lollipops. So if you plan on continuing to live in America, you might want to start following America's laws instead.
I look at the officer's statement, and he identified you by a Washington driver's license. He did cite you for license suspended, but I'm not able to find that you didn't have a valid license, and so I'm going to dismiss that. However, I've not been furnished with proof that you had insurance, so I'm going to find that you committed that infraction.
Remember, I said to you, I have an indemnity bond. If anything happens to me in a traffic accident or something that causes damage to somebody else, I'm indemnified. And the word indemnified.
Indemnified by who?
Lawyers can tell you that it's nothing to do with you. It's to do with the people of this country.
No, the law in the state of Washington is that you have a valid certificate of insurance from a recognized issue of insurance. A piece of paper that says I'm indemnified doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, but you see, you don't get the point. The point is, you are working for a governmental subcontractor, which is now liquefied. But the point is, you have contract with the country, with the people of this country, and which is the Constitution of 1789 and 1790. which gives you an enumerated services powers, and traffic control is not one of them. So you usurped all these powers, and I think your legalese people here are articles and facts. These are the republics that read this whole thing. Now, you can claim ignorance of the law. You can do that. But I gave you the information. And according to your own UCC, once knowledge is given, what is a license? If you are a corporation, you need a license to do business. I'm not a corporation.
So the judge just mentioned Anna Riesinger, also known as Anna Von Reitz, who's one of the handful of people that convince themselves they understand the law better than legal scholars, practicing attorneys, and judges at every level of the judicial system, from local trial courts all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. She's widely regarded as one of the leading figures behind the American state national movement. Even so, all of that self-proclaimed legal expertise didn't place her beyond the reach of the real, non-fictional court system. Recently, the U.S. government obtained a writ of garnishment in federal court seeking to collect unpaid tax liabilities by garnishing assets associated with her. On your screen is the federal court filing authorizing that action. She can argue all day that the government lacks jurisdiction, but judging by what happened to her bank account, the courts, and her financial institution didn't see it that way.
Let me stop you right there. I've heard that before many times. The problem here is we subscribe to different realities.
Exactly.
I agree that it's 1788. My turn, sir. My turn. 1789, I think that was when the Constitution was fully ratified and became the law of the land. And ever since that time, countless scholars from the Supreme Court on down have spent their lives studying the Constitution, figuring out what it means, trying to interpret it, how it applies to specific events. One of the issues is back then, your way of getting around was horse and carriage. There wasn't any such thing as an automobile. Now, that went on for a long, long time. Only the last few years, comparatively, this alternate way of looking at the Constitution rose up. It's not taught in any law school that I'm aware of. It's kind of an internet sensation, and it is, to paraphrase Shakespeare a little bit, a lot of a big tale full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. This is what you're arguing to me means in my frame of reference, it means nothing. It's not recognized in any of our courts. As they say, it's an alternative reality, and that's been done. People have gone to other countries and decided this is the reality we're going to have. I've made my ruling. I'm concluding the hearing.
I would like to respond to that. You're right on target when you say we're not in the same area of existence. You're a legal fiction. You're a judge. That's a legal fiction. It doesn't exist in the real world. The land and soil is where the people live and act upon. And by the way, the officer confirmed that I was driving on public roads. Who owns the public roads? The public, not the police department, not you as a judge. And so that has to be respected for those who have identified themselves as the public. Again, a US citizen is not the public. You're correct in that there are two different realms. But the mistake you're making is you do not recognize my realm, the real realm. And you can do that, but then again, I'm not part of it. So you have no rights to rule against me at all. That's my point. You made the point yourself.
We could sit here and we could discuss this to no end. We're ships passing in the night. You don't agree with what I'm saying. I don't agree with what you're saying. What I am saying is what is currently the law is recognized by the Washington State Supreme Court and the Washington State Court of Appeals and the Washington State Superior Court. If you think I'm wrong in applying the law as it exists, you can appeal me.
Well, okay, but have you proven jurisdiction over me?
We're done.
No, you haven't proven jurisdiction over me. That you have to prove, and we have many Supreme Court rulings that say that, unless proven on the record that you have jurisdiction over me in personam and what's the other one, material one, you have no case because you have to prove that first. And that is the clue for you to actually do it or dismiss the case. One of the two.
I am satisfied the jurisdiction has been proven. The individual that's sitting in front of me was pulled over on a Washington street and issued a citation.
Man is also a person. You don't have any
Sir, that's
choice.
enough. That's enough. We're done.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's video. I loved hearing the judge tell him that he was living in a completely different reality from everyone else, because that's exactly what I've been saying since day one. This case is a bit older, and I've been waiting for months to see how it ends. The only problem is that he never showed back up to court. The moment he finally does return, and the case reaches its inevitable conclusion, I'll make sure to cover it for you. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike. Either way, don't forget to leave a comment below and subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss any of my content.